Hi, everyone. I'm Maya Srikrishnan. In case you don't know me, I'm a reporter at Voice of San Diego. Right now, you are watching Voice of San Diego at Home, which we do every Friday at 1:30. Today, we are going to be talking about policing, which has been a very big topic across the country and in San Diego for the past few weeks. Earlier this week, I wrote a story talking to some residents who are from one of San Diego's most heavily policed neighborhoods, Southeastern San Diego, which includes Lincoln Park, Valencia Park, Encanto, and a lot of those neighborhoods. And I am really excited because today I am going to bring on some people from those communities who both live there and work there and work with people who've been impacted by law enforcement and the criminal justice system. I'm really excited for you guys to hear what they think. So everyone, this is Jamie Wilson. She is a resident of Southeast San Diego and also part of an organization called Pillars of the Community, which helps people in Southeastern San Diego who have been impacted by the criminal justice system. Jamie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, if anyone hasn't been paying attention, police misconduct and reform has been at the forefront of the national conversation over the past few weeks, and it's certainly become a big issue in San Diego. People have been protesting for days. Lots of people called into the city council meeting on Monday to try and get the city to defund the police. And there have been a lot of other measures and actions that have been taken locally recently. One of the things that I really wanted to drive home this week was that a lot of the issues that we've been seeing nationally about police misconduct, they're happening right here in our backyard. And sometimes they go even beyond an officer shooting or use of force. So one of the things I kind of wanted to start with, Jamie, would you mind just kind of describing for us what police presence is like in your neighborhood and how that sort of what it looks like on a daily basis and how it impacts people?
I think the best way to describe it to someone who doesn't live in our community is that it's constant. Their presence is every day. It's everywhere. I leave this community if I have to go somewhere else, and I'll never see the amount of police cars that I do here. You kind of know, our youth especially, they kind of expect to get pulled over in our community. They expect that. They expect to get stopped. My oldest two sons are now 21 and 20, and one of my sons lost count of how many times he was stopped by the police just on foot. He was riding a hoverboard one time and to school, and this is when he was really young, and he got stopped on his hoverboard for fitting the description of somebody they said that they were looking for. But that's always what it is. It's either they're just stopping and doing a field interview on our kids or fit the description of something. So it's nonstop. I don't think that youth outside of our communities and communities like the one that I live in, they don't deal with that. They don't expect to deal with that. That's not something that they think about. It's not normal to them. If they were to be stopped by the police, it'd be such a big deal that they'd come home and tell their parents. Our kids get stopped and handcuffed all the time. My kids stopped telling me about it. It was happening so much.
And why do you think that things are different in your community in this way? Why do you think that youth in the community and other people are sort of looked at with an air of suspicion and maybe approached in a more aggressive way than they are in other communities in San Diego?
Well, it's a predominantly Black and brown community where I guess you would consider a more economically disadvantaged community. We also are communities that have we are, how can I say this? We have a culture of gangs in our community, and so that's used as a reason to put more police in our communities. I can't say why, other than we're here to feed mass incarceration. Our kids are here, and the police are sent here, and it's a business, and so they're here to keep their prisons and their jails full.
So with everything that's been happening nationally, the killing of George Floyd by a police officer in Minnesota has obviously, really woken a lot of people up to what communities like yours experience and how bad some of that treatment can get, that it can literally kill people, and does far too often. And in light of that, there have been a lot of calls recently to defund the San Diego Police Department and to make other changes. Defunding the department or reducing its funding didn't actually end up happening on Monday during the city council meeting, but there have been several other reforms over the past couple of weeks that have happened. In light of everything, the city will be establishing an Office of Race and Equity. All police departments in the county have ended the use of carriage restraints or chokeholds. What are your thoughts on some of the things that have taken place? Are they steps in the right direction? Are they enough?
I want to say something about the chokehold. That wasn't something that, because credit wasn't given to the organization and the group of people that have been pushing for that for a really long time. That was the Racial Justice Coalition that did that. They've been fighting for the end of the ban of the chokehold for a really long time. So that I want to say first, and I'm on the fence with that. They're my friends, and they're really good people. I'm on the fence with, banning the use of that. I'm afraid that, I'm not gonna go that route. There's not one thing that's gonna fix it. Ban the chokehold isn't gonna fix everything. What is that? Another cultural awareness class you were talking about? Are they taking another class now?
Well, the city will be establishing an Office of Race and Equity that is supposed to deal with racism throughout city operations and others.
I'm not sure what their group is going to entail. We also have an internal affairs unit, that does nothing for us. We have a lot of things that don't do anything for us until, our communities have more of a say-so over who is policing our neighborhoods. Then I don't know. I think that it's going to be about as helpful as the cultural sensitivity classes that they put into place a year or two ago. I think what we need definitely is an independent review board, and that we were talking about earlier. Who is that? The San Diegans for Justice are in it. I think it already passed the city council. A review board, so that when we have complaints about the police or an interaction with law enforcement, that there's actually a group that does an investigation that has nothing to do with the police. Right now, if you call the police, if you file a complaint, it goes to internal affairs. Internal affairs is the police. They're the same people. Those are the same people. They work together. When I filed a complaint back in 2016, regarding, it was about one of my sons. They had sent, so what happens with internal affairs is you call, you make your complaint, and then they send someone out. First, they call and try and talk you out of filing the complaint. And then they send someone out to investigate the complaint. Well, when they sent someone out to my house, I don't think that they had realized that I had already seen the body cam footage for the stop when my son and his friends were stopped. And so they sent the sergeant who my complaint was against out to my home to investigate the complaint against him. And I'm just looking at him like, I think that's him from the body cam footage. And when I called internal affairs back and brought it up, they were like, why is that a problem? And I'm thinking, I'm not getting, because there's not, how do you
there's a clear conflict of interest? Right. Yeah.
Huge. It's a joke. Internal affairs and filing a complaint in San Diego is a joke. And that's why the stats for complaints filed in San Diego are so low. I think it was like a handful in all of San Diego for 2019. I can't remember the numbers on it, but it was like nothing. And it's nothing because we know that they're not going to do anything. We know what happens. And what actually can come out of it is you end up being targeted for filing complaints and for filing lawsuits and things like that.
Yeah, so that's why it would be important to have a completely independent body that would be reviewing some of those issues.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would help for sure.
Yeah, I mean, one really big thing that has come out of all of this is that the mayor indicated his support for that measure whenever it comes out in its final form to end up on the ballot. So, given your experience, what are some of the other changes that haven't been discussed or maybe haven't made it through that you think would be really important to kind of help deal with some of these issues of police misconduct and abuse, particularly when it comes to Black and Brown communities?
Well, the change in the complaint process and who oversees that. But we need to have a board or a group that represents that lives within our district, lives in our community, that has a part in the hiring process of these officers. There's been a campaign going on for a really long time. It's called Black Community Control of the Police by NPDM, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And what they have in there, I agree with completely. They drill these officers in training with statistics of crimes in our community and how bad we are. And then they toss them into our community to work with guns. And they've never lived here. They don't grocery shop where I grocery shop. Their kids don't go to school with my kids. They just come here to be the militant force, occupying force that they are. So we need to have some say-so. The community needs to have some say-so. And then everyone says, well, you've got Black officers. Well, what difference? It doesn't make any difference, not to me. And I'm not, I can't speak for everybody else, but if they don't, it's the same thing. If that officer grew up in La Jolla or Claremont and has had no experience or any, personal experience out here, living out here, then it's the exact same thing. I want people who live here. I want people who, you're going to run into them at the post office. People who actually care about the community because they live in it.
And how, is there anywhere that's actually been done or been successful? Or it's still like it's a nationwide campaign?
Yeah, nationwide campaign. And no, I haven't heard of anything being implemented like that. And, we continue to have the same problems. The police are always throwing these stats out about, the violence and the crime and this. Well, then maybe we should change something. It's just their ways aren't working.
And maybe I have one last question for you. So for anyone who's watching, if you have any questions, feel free to, they would like Jamie to answer, feel free to post them in the comment section and we can try and get to them. You know, I think everyone is really paying attention right now because of what happened to George Floyd. And I think sometimes when people hear about these, you know, these police acting as occupying forces, as you described it, in a community, you know, maybe they don't understand how that can lead to what happened to George Floyd. Can you kind of say or discuss how, you know, what happens nationally and sort of what happened in those situations, why they resonate with people who live in communities who are so heavily policed, particularly when they're living in a brown and Black community that's so heavily policed?
It's a lifetime buildup of being treated like that. I'm raising sons who, when I send them outside, they're being emasculated by the police for years and years. And our sons are going to be husbands one day. They're going to be fathers one day. It's not, you know, the murders are huge. When a cop kills someone, that's big. But there's so much more that goes on daily that it's a lifetime ongoing daily trauma. And our kids are so used to it. We're so used to it out here that, you know, I don't even think that they know that they're dealing with trauma.
And are there things, you know, outside of, you know, government actions that people can do for maybe community members who don't live in this community? What are some things that you think that they should be doing to kind of help people who are in communities who are disproportionately impacted by police harassment and abuse? You can talk about pillars too, if there's any way people can help.
I know. I wish Malcolme had got on. What can they do? They can turn off the news and stop buying into the narrative that the police and the media paint of us. When it comes time to vote for things, they can look to people in our community for advice and on these votes and how they should vote. Because what sounds good to someone who doesn't live here isn't really what's good for us. You know, a lot of times they're voting on things that have been presented in a way that is claiming to protect us or help us, or, you know, things like that. And it's not the case. So what I would tell everybody who doesn't live out here is stop feeding into the false narrative, first of all, and vote if, you know, and if there's something on the ballot that doesn't affect you and your community, but you know it does ours, then reach out to someone in our community, one of the organizations, and we'll talk to you about what the benefits or the consequences of that measure being pushed through would be for us.
And just on that note about people from outside the community reaching out to organizations within the community to, you know, become more informed. Can you tell everyone a little bit more about Pillars of the Community, what you do, and how they can reach you if they want to ask any questions or help in any way?
I don't think I have any information written down. Hold on. So Pillars started back when the SD33 were charged with the special gang laws. So they had actually picked up, it was 33 people from Lincoln Park, but it was for crimes that they had nothing to do with, but they were utilizing the 186.22 to just say, you know, whatever someone in a gang has done, whether you know them or not, everybody in that gang is responsible for that crime. So Pillars came together during that. So we do a lot of work on gang issues in our community, and not issues with gangs and gang members, because we are a community that's just culturally and historically inclusive of gangs, and but working on the discrimination, getting rid of the discrimination of gang members in the criminal justice system, and just trying to reintroduce a narrative that is true. That is true.
So
we have actually
Jamie,
we do participatory defense. Did you want me to talk more about what we do?
No, I'm going to let you continue in a second. I just wanted to let everyone know we have Malcolme Morgan, who's just joined. He's also from Pillars of the Community. So I'm just going to bring him on now so he can help you out, Jamie. Sorry, Jamie, continue. So you're saying you guys also do help with defense.
So we have
Hi, Malcolme.
Participatory defense, and that's something that where if you're going through the criminal justice, if you're going through the, you're muted.
My bad. I was just saying my mic was muted. Okay.
I could have just went in my car too then. So we help families who are maneuvering through the court system. It could be them. They could be facing a case, their child, their husband, wife, anyone. And so it's a confusing process if you've never been through it. The courts talk fast, they move fast. You don't understand what's going on. You don't understand what you have the right to request or ask for or demand. And you don't know how to prepare for it. So our participatory defense group meets once a week. And that's something that's been really helpful to a lot of people. We do court support. We have Nini, we have Cheryl. There's a group of great women who run our participatory defense group.
Cool. Hi, Malcolme. Thank you so much for joining us. For everyone who's just been watching, this is Malcolme Morgan. He also works with Pillars of the Community. Malcolme, I was talking to Jamie about, what are some things that can be done right now in terms of police misconduct and abuse to help. And we were talking about what people who maybe aren't from a community like Southeast San Diego that is heavily policed can do to inform themselves and to help.
I think to help, I often kind of reflected to myself how right now there's a lot of multiracial protests going on, and it's good because it's making noise. However, it doesn't seem like that noise is being heeded to, especially like out here. As we just seen what happened with the last city council budget vote. So I think what came to my head is that if people want to really make an impact, maybe it's not realistic, but maybe since everybody has cameras and everybody's a photojournalist by default these days, maybe people can on a regular basis, when they see somebody getting hemmed up, they can pull over and video record that, and Facebook Live it and get more.
Oh, we lost him. Okay, so I think we're Malcolme was saying, I'm just going to pick up for family here. Yeah, just pull over and record. And a lot of us, oh, he's back.
He's muted again.
I'll translate. And they should pull over and record. Can you, Malcolme? Can you?
Yeah, his audio's out.
So we do that a lot. A lot of people out here, we just do that. Just even people who are not part of organizations, you know, they'll pull over and just record out here. And I really want you to hear what he's saying. He has a lot of good stuff. We can't hear you.
I know.
I'm telling you, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
He's frozen.
Now it looks like he's muted.
You're muted.
No, it's not working.
He has good stuff to say. Okay, I got you. I think maybe he's going to text me. Oh, maybe he'll call right back. Yep, here he goes.
Hey, Malcolme, can you say something? I still can't hear him. Okay. Oh no. Sorry, everyone.
He's still trying.
Well, hopefully we'll get another chance to talk to him. Unfortunately, I think we have to wrap up right now.
Okay.
We're running out of time. Apologies to everyone for the technical difficulties with Malcolme, but I hope everyone learned a lot from Jamie. I know I certainly have. Thank you so much for tuning in to Voice of San Diego at Home.